Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Stylistics. I'm Mubashir Hussain, Department of English, CUST. We are discussing in this lecture semantics of words and sentences. In this lecture, we are going to discuss is the words and sentences and how those words and sentences constitute the language, how the meaning of those words and sentences being communicated, what is the meaning of semantics, and how semantic of word is different from the semantics of sentences. Language may be divided to a component of phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. First, the phones and their allophones and suprasemantic features are determined, and the morphemes and their organization into words are identified. In the next, we analyze the structure of sentence and find out how the words are organized into phrases and phrases into clauses and then into sentences, and then language is ready for communication. Then we just use the language in proper sense, and there comes the study of language through the linguistics, which is scientific studies of that particular language. Actually, linguistics is the study of languages, not a particular language, but we can apply it on particular language also. It is said that the language without meaning is meaningless. Yes, of course. If we cannot communicate anything, if we cannot understand any meaning, then what is the meaning? What is the use of particular language? So semantics is the study of the meaning in language. That's why semantics is the most important thing. The term is taken from the Greek word semi, meaning signs. The word meaning can be defined in many ways, but the definition most pertinent to linguistics is one we use, that the meaning is the function of the sign in language. This understanding of meaning corresponds to German philosopher Wittgenstein's definition, who says the meaning of a word is its use in the language. In other words, the role of a word plays in the language. The term semantic was only used in the 19th century, but subject of the meaning has interested philosophers for thousands of years. Greek philosophers were the first people known to have debated the nature of meaning. They had opposite views on that subject. Symbols carry the meaning, and the semantic comes from the Greek, as we know, semantic, which means show or give sign. While dealing with the meaning, we must understand the natural language versus artificial language. Semantic, as it is the study of the meaning of linguistic expression, the language can be a natural language, such as an English, or artificial language like a computer programming language. Linguists mainly study meaning in natural languages. In fact, semantics is one of the main branches of the contemporary linguistics. There are strong connection to philosophy. Earlier in this century, philosophers did much work in semantics, and some important work is still being done by philosophers. Since sentences can be either true or false, the meaning of sentences usually involve the truth values true and false. You can make artificial language for talking about these objects. Some semanticians claim that this language can be used to capture inner cognitive representation. Though truth value may seem artificial as components of meaning, they are very handy in talking about the meaning of things like negation. The semantic rule for negative sentences says that their meanings are like the corresponding positive sentences, except that the truth value is switch false for true and true for false. If it is raining is true, if it is raining it is false, and false if it is raining is true. This interest in valid reasoning provides a strong connection. There are various types of meanings. Meaning has been a topic of interest for linguists as well as philosophers in conversation analysts. The term meaning can refer to several things, so it is important to note its implication in language sciences. In linguistics, the term meaning can refer to implication, entailment, intention, etc. And it is arbitrary, that is to say that there may not be an explanation for why a certain entity has got a certain name. Meaning can be of several kinds, such as denotative meaning, connotative meaning, literal meaning, figurative meaning, and idiomatic meaning. The denotative meaning is explicit are surface meaning, whereas connotative meaning refers to extended meaning that may be figurative or idiomatic. So somewhere you can see that these all different areas are just interlinked with one or the other. When we talk about figurative or literal meaning, we know that the figurative meaning is somewhat different from the literal meaning. Literal meaning of the individual word in a figurative language may indicate some concepts, but the overall interpretation requires additional links with entities not available in lexical content. Additionally, the term meaning can also refer to the dictionary meaning and an encyclopedic meaning. Dictionary meaning usually refers to the lexical meaning that the user may find in dictionary. This meaning is often short and dependent on the speakers for exactness. In contrast, the encyclopedic meaning covers all the information available about the word. It is important to note that the site for storing, access and recall for all kinds of meaning is the mental lexicon. Mental lexicon is an abstract entity assumed to be present in the mind of speakers. I just give you an example. Anyone who speaks a language has a truly amazing capacity to reason about the meaning of text. For example, the sentence, "I can't untie the knot with one hand." Even though you have probably never seen this sentence, you can easily see things like the following. The sentence is about the abilities of whoever speaker is or whoever the writer is. It is also about a knot, tying a knot, maybe one that speaker is pointing at. The sentence denies that the speaker has a certain ability. Untying is a way of making something not tied. So the sentence doesn't mean that the knot has one hand. It has to do with how many hands are used to do the untying. So in a way it is a different sentence that that speaker can shows the inability untie that knot with one hand. He is not saying that he is not untying, but he is specifying that cannot do with one hand. Now, arrangement of meaning, that is something very important in contemporary semantics. Linguists who study semantics look for general rule that bring out the relationship between arrangement in sentences and meaning. And this is interesting and challenging because these relations are so complex. This idea that meaningful unit combines systematically to form larger meaningful unit and understanding sentences, a way of working out of these combination. It has probably been the most important theme in contemporary semantics. The meaning of a sentence is not just an unordered heap of the meaning of its words. If that were true, then cowboys ride horses and horses ride cowboys would mean the same, but it's not so. When we say cowboys ride horses, we can understand the meaning. When we say horses ride cowboy, we fail to understand. So we need to think about arrangement of words. In a proper sentence, just words are not sufficient. So the sentences that we were talking, let's take that for example to discuss the arrangement of word also. Here is an arrangement that seems to bring out the relationship of the meaning in sentence. That is, now see in the brackets, able, make, not, tied, that knot with one hand. So the unit make, not, tied here correspond to the act of untying. It contains a subunit corresponding to the state of being untied. Larger units correspond to the act of untying that knot and the act to untie that knot with one hand. This act combines with able to make larger unit corresponding to the state of being able to untie that knot with one hand. This unit combines with I to make the thought that I have this state That is the thought that I able to untie that knot with one hand. Finally, this combines with knot and we get the denial of that thought. So semantic rule for English might say that in simple sentence involving the word can't always correspond to the meaning arrangement, like not able but never to like able not. For instance, I can't dance, that I'm unable to dance, it doesn't mean that is I'm able not to dance. There are two different things. As the study of meaning of the linguistic expression, semantics is divided into two types. One is lexical semantics and the second is sentential semantics. As you can see in this particular chart, lexical semantics and sentential semantics are just explained through various blocks. When we talk about lexical semantics, we have lexical relations and meaning relations, that various forms are there that we discuss in next slides. Lexical semantics, which is the study of the linguistic meaning of morphemes, words, phrases and sentences. It tells us about lexical semantics, which is subfield of semantics and which is concerned with the meaning of words and the meaning relationship among the words. The meaning of a phrase or a sentence is partially a function of the meaning of it contains. Similarly, the meaning of morphological complex word is a function of their component morpheme. However, there is a fundamental difference between word meaning or lexical semantics and sentence meaning. The meaning of entries in the mental lexicon, their morpheme, words, compound, idioms, and so on, it's different. Lexical semantics could be defined as the study of the word meaning. This means that lexical semanticians are more interested in the open class of noun, verbs, and adjective, and with more contentful members of the verb and preposition classes. Lexical semantics is thus mostly exempt from the considering issues that arise from the use of grammatical words such as definiteness and modality. The sounds and meanings of morphemes and words, each of us knows the meanings of thousands of words. This knowledge permits us to use the word to express our thoughts and to understand the thoughts of others. The meaning of word, that is part of linguistic knowledge. Mental storehouse of information about words, about morphemes, is what we have been calling the lexicon. Lexical semantics are the semantics of word. That is the other sentence, otherwise we can call it. Recently there has been more interest in lexical semantics, that is in the semantics of words. Lexical semantics deal with the language. Lexicons are the collection of the word in language. It is concerned with the individual word, unlike compositional semantics, which is concerned with semantics of meanings and sentence. Lexical semantics focus on meanings in isolation, that's without attention to their contribution to the reference or truth condition. Lexical semantics is not so much a matter of trying to write an ideal dictionary. Rather, lexical semantics is concerned with systematic relation of the meanings of the words and in recurring patterns amongst different meanings of the same word. It is no accident, for instance, that you can say Sam ate a grape. Sam ate. The farmer saying what Sam ate, and the later Mary saying that Sam ate something. What he ate is not important. The nature of lexical semantics has changed markedly in 20 to 30 years since classic texts like Lines and Crews were published. Such texts were written at a time when structure lexical semantics essentially carried on separately from major generative theories of grammar. During and since the 1980s, however, theories of grammar have become much more lexically driven, associating much deeper attention to the issue of lexical meaning. Unfortunately, there is a tendency in lexical semantics courses and in semantic textbooks to present lexical semantics essentially as it was 30 years ago. The focus limited to polysemy or homonymy and the name relation, that is synonymous, antonymous, etc. Phrasal or sentential semantics is concerned with the meaning of the syntactic units larger than the word. Pragmatics is the study of how context and situation affects meaning. The meaning of most sentences must be constructed by the application of semantic rules. Although the agreed upon meaning of the word may shift over time within a language community like the word dies, we are not free as individuals to change the meanings of word. If we did, we will be unable to communicate with each other. All the speakers of language share a basic vocabulary. If we keep on changing our own will, then what will happen? Suppose to me, a dog means horse. To you, a dog means a goat. What will happen? We won't be able to communicate. So in this way, we share a common vocabulary. That means common meaning. Semantics of sentences. To assign meanings to the sentences of a language, you need to know what they are. It is the job of another area of linguistics called syntax to answer this question by providing rules that show how sentences and other expressions are built up out of smaller parts and eventually out of words. The meaning of sentence depends not only on the words it contains but on its syntactic makeup. The sentence, for example, the sentence that can hurt you, for instance, is ambiguous. It is too distinct. And first, you can say that can be taken as a subject, and can is its auxiliary verb, meaning able. And in the other, that can is the subject, and can is a noun indicating a sort of container. That can hurt you means particularly things can hurt you if is able to hurt you. But if I say that can hurt you, because the meaning of the sentence depends so closely on its syntactic structure. Linguists have given a lot of thoughts to the relations between syntactic structure and the meaning. In fact, evidence about ambiguity is one way of testing ideas about syntactic structure. There is other conceptual meaning. Conceptual meaning covers those basic essential components of meaning that are conveyed by the literal use of word. It is the type of meaning that dictionaries are designed to describe some of the basic components of the word, like a needle. In English, that might include sharp steel instruments, and we all decode it by that. Then there is associative meaning. It is the type of meaning that people might connect with the use of the word. The associative meaning of an expression has to do with the individual mental understanding of the speaker. Different people might have different association or connotation attached to word, like needle. They might associate with pain, illness, or blood, or drugs, or thread, or knitting, or hard to find, etc. And these associations may differ from one person to the next. These types of associations are not treated as part of words' conceptual meaning. Semantics probably won't help you find out the meaning of the word you don't understand, though it does have a lot to say about the patterns of meaningfulness that you find in words. It certainly can't help you in meaning of the Shakespeare sonnet, since poetic meaning is so different from the literal meaning. As we learn more about semantics, we are finding out to learn about how the words language match forms to meaning, and in doing that we are learning how we think as well as acquiring knowledge that is useful in meaning different fields and applications. As understanding of semantics is essential to the study of language acquisition, how language users acquire a sense of meaning as speakers and writing listener readers, and of language change, how meanings alter over time. It is important for understanding language in social context, as these are likely to affect meaning, and for understanding varieties of English and effects of style. It is thus one of the most fundamental concepts in linguistics. The study of semantics includes the study of how meaning is constructed, how interpreted, how meaning is clarified, obscured, illustrated, simplified, negotiated, contradicted, and paraphrased. In general, however, semantics generally refers to how meaning is conveyed through the symbols of a written language. Semantics is the study of the meaning of the language. how meaning affects the word association in language. Do you know that? No. If not, then just listen carefully. The purely linguistic side of meaning is equally evident when examining how words combine with another produced phrases. The set of restriction on how a word may combine with other words of a single syntactic category. It is referred to as the word collocability. Two words may have the same referent yet differ their ability to combine with particular words. In English, the word flock, F-L-O-C-K, it collocates with sheeps, a flock of sheep, and school with fish. Then, although both flock and school mean group, but they cannot be applied vice versa. Also, as it combines only with brains or eggs, one must steam rice and boil water. Blonde collocates with hair, while red may collocate with hair as well as other so many objects. So that shows that every language has its own pattern of language. Suppose if I say in Urdu, na normal tin hoga na radha nachegi, the person who understands the concept, the person who understands not only the language but its connotation, its phrases, can interpret in the right way. But person of other languages who are learning Urdu, if they know some word also, if they are unaware the context, they may just represent it as a na normal tin hoga. Mean if the oil is not there, required oil not there, 9 liter is not there, and what is the meaning of it? He will not be able to understand, because without context word cannot convey meaning in the right sense. So that's why it's important and it's essential to refer to the semantics of word as well as the semantics of sentences. There is a relationship between words, and that relationship is the semantic relationship. That is known also as sense relation. All words in a language may not be discrete, they may show some kind of relationship at the level of meaning. These relationships are known as sense relation. Modern studies of semantics are interested in the meaning primarily in terms of words and sentences relationship. Let's see some more semantic relationship between words. One thing is taxonomy. You can see that this example on the root or the above surface, it is vegetable. Vegetable has been divided into greens, pulses, roots, tubers, and then greens is the cabbage or spinach, pulses are the peas, and the beans, roots are the carrots and the trumps. So in this way, this is the relationship between vegetable in the peas is through pulses, vegetable in the cabbage is through green, and that is the example of the taxonomy. Do you know who are the philologists? Philologists are the people who study language as well as anything created with language. They often make a distinction between the meaning and the concept. It is possible to know the meaning of the word without knowing everything about the concept referred to by that meaning. For example, one can know the meaning of word like diamond without naming the chemical composition of this stone or that carbon or pencil lead. I know this is diamond, but I cannot tell you what are the composition of this diamond or what are the chemical things, other names of it. I know this is diamonds. So chemically speaking, composed of any substance we are not aware of. Noting how semantics is based on your extra linguistic categories. Anna have tried to reduce all meaning to a set of universal core concepts such as tall, short, male, female, etc. These finite sets of concepts are then used universally to describe the meaning of all words in all languages. This semantics approach to language structure has various problems, which are as follows: to decide which concepts are basic or which are derived, how to distinguish between sense and differences. Meaning is more than simply reflection of real word categories. Is it true or not? To sum up, we can say that when we deal with the semantics of words and sentences, we understand very well that semantics deal with the meanings. and the meaning of the words, the meaning of these sentences are essential to understand, and because of this it is one of the most important part of the linguistics, because linguistics study of scientific language, and the main aim of language is to communicate. If we don't understand the meaning of the word in the sentences in a proper sense without context, how we will be able to convey the right sense? Meaning, semantics of word and semantics of sentences are more important. Both are very, very important, but there are certain differences also, like words are synonym, sentences are paraphrases, words can be homonym, sentences may be ambiguous, word opposites, sentences can be negated, words are used for naming purpose, sentences can be used that way too. So both words and sentences can be used to refer to or point out objects, and both may have some further meaning beyond this capacity or capability. So let us consider these words, let us consider these sentences in a proper way to understand, and just study semantics to understand it, understand the linguistics,